On an average weekend, you'll find me roaming the aisles of my local thrift store, looking for a new addition to my wardrobe. And my friends often tell me I have a knack for finding the best pieces. But little do they know that I have a superpower that helps me make informed decisions and avoid buying unnecessary or regrettable things. That superpower is psychology. And today, I'm going to use it to help you understand how you can avoid some challenges that an amateur thrifter might face. Who here has owned an article of clothing simply because it was trendy? Exactly. Thrift stores are perfect evidence of all of the fashion trends that have come and gone because things that everybody was once wearing have now been donated. When we wear things to fit in with trends, we're demonstrating something called the normative function of conformity, which is when we go along with what others are doing because we're afraid of being rejected or going against social norms. Now there's a second function of conformity called the informational one, which describes when we follow others because we're genuinely unsure how we should behave in a situation. So these regrettable trends are a perfect example of the normative function, whereas an informational function of conformity could look like getting an invite to a fancy event with a black tie dress code. And since you don't know what that means, you ask your friends what they're wearing and choose something similar. On to our next dilemma. Who's tried something on at the thrift store, thought it looked so cute, and went home and went, "Oh, it's hideous." Exactly, this has certainly happened to me, as you can see today. We might be falling into something known as the sunk cost trap, which is a tendency to continue investing resources into a futile endeavor because we've previously invested in it. So, compared to traditional shopping, thrifting requires a greater investment of your time. You can't just ask an associate to find you something in a different size or color. And in general, we like to avoid losses. So if you're spending hours thrifting through the racks with nothing to find, your actions and your beliefs are in conflict. And this leads to an uncomfortable psychological state known as cognitive dissonance. To reduce this, you have two choices. You can change your action or change your beliefs. But we don't like to lose the time we've already spent looking. So you're more likely to change your belief, which could look like convincing yourself that this is so cute when it's just not. All just to reduce that uncomfortable feeling of cognitive dissonance. So many times I talk to people and they tell me they have bad luck at the thrift store. Later, I find out they've only been once or maybe twice. I believe they're falling victim to something known as the representativeness heuristic, which is a tendency to assume that what we're observing applies to some broader category in our minds. So let's say you have a bad experience at Value Village and you just don't find anything you like. You may conclude that all thrift stores will also lead to an unsuccessful thrift trip, but that's just not the case. One poor experience at Value Village is not representative of the outcomes you could have at different stores, or even future trips to that same store. Who has been to the thrift store, purchased something, and realized, I already had something just like it? Yes, this is a common one, but by understanding something known as the availability heuristic and using it to our advantage, we can prevent this from happening. The availability heuristic is a tendency to make judgments and decisions based on the information that easily comes to your mind. So picture this. You're at the thrift store and you find a cool belt. You're wondering if you already have some at home. If you can easily recall the last time you wore a belt or reached for it in your closet, and that's readily available to you, you'll probably conclude you own enough and don't need to purchase this one. But if that information isn't readily available to you, you might conclude that you just don't own any, leading you to waste money on a purchase that you didn't need. Okay, here's our last challenge. Some of my friends who thrift are reluctant to give things back to the thrift store that they found, loved, and just don't wear anymore. They think it's somehow worth more. Why is this? This relates to a concept known as the IKEA effect, which describes how when we have labor or effort into something and it leads to a successful outcome, we might have an increased valuation of that object or creation. So if you spend hours sifting through the racks at the thrift store and find something you love, it may lead you to think that it's worth more than it actually is. In fact, you might even be tempted to try to resell it for more than it's worth. But this isn't really a smart strategy, and you should really donate it back so that somebody else can use and enjoy it. Okay, let's recap. Here's your guide to thrifting success. Start by asking yourself, is it just trendy? Am I only wearing it because of the normative function of conformity? Well, if you are, you probably won't wear it in a few months when it's out of style. Remember, it's okay to leave empty-handed. Don't fall into the sunk cost trap. It's better to change your actions and walk away than change your beliefs and tell yourself something is cute when it just isn't. Remember that an unsuccessful trip is not representative of future ones. Just because you had bad luck today doesn't mean you always will. Remember that we have this availability heuristic, so if you take a good look at your wardrobe before you go, you can prevent yourself from buying something you already own, like that brown belt. And remember, don't let your hard work lead you to overvalue your items. If you've loved it and you're not wearing it, it's better to donate it so somebody else can love it again. And with these tips, you might be able to find a stylish wardrobe that you absolutely love and enjoy. It's better for the environment and better for your wallet, so go out there and get thrifty.